You've met this person. Maybe you've dated them. Maybe you grew up with one. Maybe you are one. They're fine on the surface, good company, reliable when it counts, funny in the right moments. But the second things get emotionally real, something shifts. They go quiet, they deflect. They make a joke that lands wrong. They suddenly need to check their phone. You say, I love you. They say, you know I care about you. You try to have an honest conversation about how you're both feeling. They look at the wall like you've asked them to explain monetary policy in Mandarin. You pull closer. They pull back. Not dramatically, just slightly, consistently, every time. This isn't coldness. It's not that they feel nothing. Most of the time, they feel plenty. They just can't get it out, or won't. Or, and this is the part nobody talks about, genuinely don't fully know how. There's a name for this pattern. It's called avoidant attachment. It's one of the most studied behavioral patterns in relationship psychology. It has a clear origin, a clear mechanism, and clear consequences, and it's way more common than people realize. Let's break it down. You know I care about you. We're using one example for this whole video. The guy or girl, this isn't gendered, who responds to I love you with you know I care about you. Not cruel, not cold, just sealed. Something in there, just not coming out. We'll call this person the YKICAY. You know I care about you. We'll come back to them constantly. Watch what they do throughout this script. What this is actually called. Attachment theory was originally developed by British psychiatrist and psychoanalyst John Bowlby starting in the 1950s. His core idea, humans are wired from birth to form close emotional bonds with caregivers. That bond isn't just comfort, it's a survival mechanism. Infants who stay close to a caregiver stay alive. Then in the 1970s and 80s, developmental psychologist Mary Ainsworth ran a series of experiments called The Strange Situation. She observed how young children responded when briefly separated from their caregiver and then reunited. 3 patterns emerged clearly. Secure. Child is upset when the caregiver leaves, visibly relieved and comforted when they return. The caregiver was consistently available and responsive. Anxious. Child is very distressed when the caregiver leaves, but when they return, can't be soothed easily. Clingy and uncertain. Avoidant. Child appears largely unbothered when the caregiver leaves. When they return, the child doesn't really seek comfort. They seem fine, independent, self-contained. Here's the thing about that avoidant child. They're not actually fine. Physiological measures like heart rate and stress hormones showed that avoidant children were just as stressed as the others during separation. They just weren't showing it externally. They had already learned very early that expressing distress didn't reliably get a response, so they stopped expressing it. The YKIACY was once that kid. Where it comes from. Avoidant attachment doesn't appear randomly. It develops in a specific type of early environment. Not abusive, necessarily. Not dramatic. Often just emotionally unavailable. A caregiver who was physically present but emotionally distant. Who responded well to practical needs, food, school, safety, but pulled back when things got emotional. Who got uncomfortable with tears. Who said things like, stop being so sensitive, or you're fine, walk it off, or simply went quiet and changed the subject when feelings came up. The child learns something from this, a lesson that never gets spoken out loud, but gets encoded clearly. Emotional needs don't get met here. Expressing them creates distance, not closeness, so keep them internal. That's not a conscious decision the child makes. It's a behavioral adaptation. The child is solving a problem with the resources they have. The YKICAY was a kid who figured out early that showing how much they cared just made things awkward or uncomfortable or was met with nothing. So they stopped showing it. They got very good at not showing it. And then they grew up. The 2 types. Researchers identified 2 adult avoidant patterns. Dismissive avoidant. Genuinely believe they don't need deep connection. Independence is everything. Intimacy feels unnecessary. They don't think they're doing anything wrong. Everyone else is just too needy. Fearful avoidant. Actually want closeness, but experience it as threatening. They want to say I love you back and can't. 2 instincts, opposite directions, running simultaneously. They lie awake at night, wondering why they couldn't just say the words. Same root, different expressions. What their brain is actually doing. Avoidants use deactivating strategies, automatic suppression responses that fire when emotional closeness increases. Partner says, "I love you." Conversation gets vulnerable. Someone cries. The nervous system registers threat and shuts down expression. Not manipulation, not indifference, a protection mechanism wired in early that never got updated. It kept them safe in childhood. The problem is, it runs the same way in adulthood, even when the other person is completely safe. The walls. It goes beyond not saying "I love you." They don't initiate deep conversations. They struggle to ask for help. They default to "I'm fine," while clearly not being fine. When you're emotional, they shift to problem solving instead of just being present. They create small, consistent distances, slower texts, more time alone, less availability. Physical affection works on their terms, not yours. They can have a genuinely great day with you and still need 3 days alone afterward. Not because they don't care, because good intimacy triggers the deactivation response too. The irony. Avoidants aren't unfeeling. Research suggests dismissive avoidants often feel just as intensely as others. They just suppress the expression effectively. Some can't fully access their own emotional states, a pattern linked to alexithymia, difficulty identifying what you're actually feeling. The YKIACY might love you more than anyone and still not be able to say it. The feeling is there. The pathway out is blocked. The pursue-withdraw trap. Avoidant plus anxious attachment is a predictable disaster loop. Anxious partner feels withdrawal, pursues harder. Avoidant feels crowded, withdraws more. Both are acting completely logically. Both are confirming the other person's exact fear. Anxious fear, abandonment. Avoidant fear, being consumed or exposed. Same cycle, same outcome every time. Why closeness feels like danger. For most people, closeness feels good. For avoidance, it registers as a physiological threat before the conscious brain catches up. Every time emotional openness preceded pain in childhood, the nervous system filed it, not as memory, as prediction. It's not a character flaw. It's a miscalibrated alarm system going off in a room with no smoke. The cost. The avoidant pays too. Chronic suppression links to increased internal stress. Relationships plateau and quietly dissolve. They live in a contradiction, preferring distance while being wired for connection, feeling vaguely empty without understanding why. Can it change? Yes. Attachment patterns are learned, not fixed. 3 things that help. Therapy, especially emotionally focused therapy, a securely attached partner who doesn't trigger the pursue-withdraw cycle, and self-awareness. Simply naming the deactivation response as it happens creates a gap between trigger and behavior. The wiring isn't permanent. Takeaway: the person who says, "I care about you," isn't broken or cruel. They learned early that opening up didn't pay off. They built something sturdy and lived inside it. Understanding that doesn't mean staying in something that doesn't meet your needs. But behavior has causes, and causes are where change starts. If this video just made you think of someone specific, could be a partner, a parent, a friend, or the person in the mirror, drop a comment below, hit subscribe, and hey, if you found this useful, maybe actually tell someone you care about them today.